Joining us now to break down the upcoming agenda and other news on Capitol Hill is Representative Ralph Norman. He's the congressman serving South Carolina's 5th District and a member of the House Oversight and Reform and Budget Committee. So, Congressman, I first want to start with what we're seeing from the Biden transition team right now. They're putting together their team, a lot of very ambitious proposals. However, we know that Republicans could have a check when it comes to Senate control. That's depending on those Georgia Senate runoff races. But from what you're seeing so far, is there anything that concerns you?
It really does, Alex. It's a repeat of the failed Obama administration. You know, we had 8 years of basically no growth, regulation after regulation, appeasement of foreign countries, and it looks like he's putting the same people in place. John Kerry is coming back. Buttigieg wasn't on the team of Barack Obama, but it's a retread of people that basically carried out the Obama policies, if not with his administration in the cities that he catered to. So it's very alarming, in particular the immigration part of this, where he's basically said I think in October, he was going to let 11 million immigrants come into this country. He's going to naturalize them as U.S. citizens, which means voting. And think of the toll that it's going to take on our system that's already stretched to the limit, if not over the limit.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because right now for many Americans, too, they're not working. And immigration, don't get me wrong, it's a good way to facilitate economic growth and bring people into this country and get them participating in the American dream. But this does come at a time where millions of Americans are not only out of work, but being told not to go back to work because of lockdown orders. And they're really trying to get their lives back together. Is now just not the right time to once again be opening up immigration at the southern border in addition to amnesty plans?
It's two different worldviews, Alex. They just really think about their own power, and think about the denigration of this country that the Democrats over the last year said about America. And it's ironic that we have everyone wanting to come in and no one is leaving for Cuba, for Venezuela, for Russia. And, you know, it's the spending here is still out of control. And with what he's planning on putting on the books, on the backs of the taxpayers, with 11 to 15 million people, along with the fact that they're waiting on Georgia, I think if it goes south and the two Democrats win, they're going to stack the courts. They're going to make D.C. and Puerto Rico nations, states, which is going to make us conservative will not win again if that's the case.
Right. I mean, essentially, if that were to be the plan, it would be adding 4 Democratic Senate seats to the upper chamber. And what we just saw with coronavirus negotiations, it kind of brings all of this together. I mean, the only reason why Republicans had a seat at the table is because they do have control of the upper chamber. But it also came with it extraordinary spending, something we've seen a lot over this past year. I understand that right now, too, it's essential for many families who are looking to get back to work, or at least keep people on their payroll for the short term. Are you pleased with what came out of the coronavirus relief bill?
Oh, absolutely not. It's a travesty. Only 50 Republicans voted for it, voted against it. The rest of them voted for it. But the sad part about it, Alex, we got a 6,000-page document at 2 o'clock. Yeah. If you average looking over 1,000 pages an hour, you may get through it when we voted on it that afternoon. But it's a travesty. And to any of your viewers, would you ever consider signing anything that was 100 pages, much less 6,000 pages? And some of the spending that's in there, it's not like we don't have a $30 trillion deficit as we speak. And to add to it, what this country needs is to go back to work. And for those Democrat governors that are shutting down businesses, that's the oxygen that keeps them alive, which is opening the doors.
And in addition to that 6,000-page piece of legislation, there was also an omnibus spending bill where I saw a lot of people voicing concerns about why are we shipping, for example, hundreds of millions of dollars to gender studies in Pakistan was one example that I saw. Things of that nature, which really just kind of played into exactly what was happening here, why it took so long to get this bill across, in addition to that major price tag. Now, once again, I understand this was an unprecedented year as far as spending goes, and it was perhaps necessary to meet the crisis, which was also unprecedented. But moving forward, does the government need to rein in its spending more to look out for future generations?
Well, if we don't, we will go bankrupt. And to leave the tax and that's all you can call it, the $30 trillion tax and climbing on those who are coming behind us is simply not fair. And you're right. When you look at the money to foreign countries, $700 million to Sudan, you had Egypt, $1.3 billion. Why are they funding foreign countries who many of which do not have our best interest at heart? It's an insult to the American people. And it's a time for we the people to rise up and say we're not taking this anymore. I'm urging every American citizens to contact your congressman, particularly those who voted for it. I did not, and many others just fed up with what's been going on with the Democrats not going through special order on any of these bills. I'm on the Budget Committee. You know how many times we met in the last 9 months? Maybe 3 times. And nothing substantive, no cuts, no offsets. And it's a travesty that's got to stop. The train has got to, we've got to put some safeguards in place to not only cut spending, but get this country solvent, because you can't fund the military, you can't fund social programs or anything else for that matter if you're bankrupt.
Yeah, and I think it was Tucker Carlson who recently said on a podcast that if any other American, for example, were to be $1,000 in debt, they would be essentially get their credit card closed down, their bank accounts closed down, their wages garnered, anything like that. But if it comes to the government, for example, and you're $100 million in debt, someone will ask you to sit down for lunch. That's really the way that the federal government is operating right now, at a point where they have the leverage because there's so much spending that getting back that money at this point is more detrimental than anything else. I think that's the problem that the government is currently facing when it keeps dishing out these large sums of money. But Representative Ralph Norman, I really appreciate you coming on the program tonight, breaking down this bill in its entirety. I know it's very crucial for a lot of Americans right now, but there are other issues to talk about as well. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.